The topic is HIV and AIDS, a StreetWorks update. Of course, we're talking to the Executive Director of StreetWorks, Mr. RCrowder. Mr. Crowder, now, the organization that you're in charge of is StreetWorks, and that's a very, very significant organization that grew out of a need that you have identified. But let's talk about the impact that this disease is having upon individuals as well as upon the healthcare system, if there is an impact.
Well, I think the biggest impact is that a person do have to change their lives. They have to change their behaviors as it relates to high-risk behaviors or whatever. And it has a very big impact upon our community as a whole. For instance, you hear people talking about Magic Johnson and the reason he looks so well because he has money and this type of thing. Well, what people in Tennessee need to know that anyone who's HIV infected in Nashville has access to the same medications that Magic Johnson has access to because of TennCare. Every drug that's on HIV medication it's on the TennCare formulary. So they have access to all of those drugs. Now, personally, HIV have not impacted my life too much. I go on with life as usual. You know, I was married a year or so ago to a very beautiful young lady. She's not HIV infected, and you know, now HIV has almost become a chronic illness. With proper care of yourself, you can live a very normal life. I think the main thing that we as a community need to know that knowledge is power, and people need to come in and get the knowledge. People are still having missed about how you can get it, and people still refuse to come into our offices for fear that if they come into my office to get information that someone gonna say, well, there goes somebody with AIDS, and that's not it. Come in, get the information. Like I say, knowledge is power. And you need the information. You
know, you mentioned this whole idea about education. I think that each time that we talk about this issue, that is the main point that I think you try to point out here. But now, education. We've tried to educate. We've been educating folks for the last 10 or 12 years in reference to this disease, but it still seems that we are missing a large group. As a matter of fact, that's one of the reasons that you established StreetWorks, so that you could reach that group. What do we do in order to increase the number of individuals that we are reaching with the message of education?
Well, Dr. Haney, one of the things I really like to applaud you on is having me come in so we could have these type of discussions to let people know it's okay. You know, no one deserves HIV. There's no innocent or guilty party in this whole thing. It makes no difference. No one deserves it. You know, they have this notion that if a baby is born with it, they're an innocent HIV person, or if someone was an IV drug user, then they deserve what they get, or if that person was participating in risky behavior such as homosexual or gay person. No, that's not true. You know, the fact of the matter is no one deserves this. You know what I'm saying? And again, education is the key since there is no cure. You know, StreetWorks is involved, is partnering with Vanderbilt as we speak, and the National Institutes of Health through a agency called Ogilvy up in D.C. to do vaccine awareness, and we can talk a little bit more about that later. But you know, there's no cure, there's no vaccine as of right now. There's no vaccine, and the thing is, we just cannot get our community involved. It's like the stigma, the stigma that's attached to HIV is horrendous. You know.
Now you mentioned the fact that it's difficult to get African Americans involved in recognizing the issue, but now you also, I think, indicated that there's a great discrepancy between African Americans who have this disease and non-African Americans. Speak to that issue.
Okay, right now we know that 1 in 50 African American men are infected with HIV. There's no ifs, ands, and buts about that. We also know that 1 in 160 African American women are infected with HIV. We know that African American women or women of color are 20 times more likely to get HIV than white women. We know that African American men are 8 times more likely to get HIV. Eight times more likely than white men. Now, it's not because they're African Americans. It's not who you are. It's what you do gets you HIV infection. And let me say it one more time. It's not who you are, but what you do. That's what gets you HIV infection. A white guy's risk is no higher than mine. It's that what I do as opposed to what he do is what gets you understand what I'm saying?
Exactly.
So that's the issue.
So and now we did a show quite recently dealing with childhood obesity, and it all boiled down to individual responsibilities and individual decisions and et cetera. While that might not have been it's not entirely an individual decision because there are environmental factors and et cetera. But what you're saying here in reference to this disease is that the same thing is true, that it's individual. If an individual does not wish to contract this disease, then he does not do the 3 or 4 things that you mentioned.
Absolutely. It's all in behavior modification. You're going to have to change your behavior. Those behaviors which put you at risk for HIV infection, whatever those behaviors may be. Whether it be unprotected sex, multiple sex partners, sharing needles, whatever they may be. That's what it's all about.
So it's really, again, as we make preparations for this second commercial break, it is still a behavioral kind of thing, and an individual can make a decision himself. Okay, and of course, we'll be back with our audience following this very, very short commercial break. The topic is HIV.